for listening to UBM Talk.
Who are these guys?
It's my theme music. Every good hero should have some.
Baseline is in the air. This is UBM Talk on urbanbroadcastmedia.com. The show is called Baseline, and I am Chris Bass. Welcome back into the fold, my people. Welcome back. How you doing? Have a seat. When you download the Urban Broadcast Media app on your smartphone, you make us a part of your life. Show email, I am chrisbass@gmail.com. Facebook.com/Chris Bass. CHRIS. B as in broadcasting, ASE. Twitter.com @Chris Bass, all one word. And the phone number for you to call in and connect is 312-754-4333. That's 312-754-4333. Welcome back, my people. How you doing? How was your weekend? Well, the weekend here was pretty cool. You know, we had the 86th annual Billiken Day Parade, which is the second largest parade in the nation, I was told, especially by African Americans. And so we had that yesterday, so that was pretty cool. The great thing about the parade every year is that it's always the wathering smell of barbecue. So, you know, for those of you out there who don't like the pig, I'm sorry, but you can barbecue other things up besides, pork. But the smell of barbecue always been a staple at the parade. So without any doubt, people were telling me I didn't get a chance to attend because I was, laid up, trying to recover and stuff. But I saw it on Channel 7 here locally on their station and was checking things out. And once again, you get a sense of pride when you see it, especially the tradition that it has about the theme of going back to school and things like that. Really gives you a nice feeling inside. So to see all the people participate, it's always a good thing. And once again, no violence. Nobody shooting each other, nobody trying to rob and pillage or something like that. Just fun had by all. It'd be amazing if we could keep up that same attitude throughout the whole year. But that's just wishful thinking, I know. All right, as you know, it's the second Monday of the month. And upon my return, I'm looking forward to bringing this lady forward. She just joined the team recently. So please play her theme song. All right, she's a talented talk show host who appeared on radio stations such as WLS here in Chicago and WYLL-AM. Over the years, he was a frequent guest on the television talk programs on WTTW-TV in Chicago, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, and many more. To bring us Deborah's World, please welcome back to Baseline, the one, the only, and my good friend, and yours, Deborah Rowe. Deborah, how you doing, sweetheart?
Hey, Chris, I am fine. Thank you so much for having me, as always. How am I sounding, Chris? Can you hear me?
You sound very clear. Very good feed, yes.
Okay, excellent. I love it. Well, how you feel? How you doing?
I'm on the mend. I had a couple of setbacks here and there, but, overall I'm feeling about half at this point. So I'll take that for the time being.
Well, that's a whole lot right there.
Yes,
half of you.
Yes, absolutely.
You're doing good.
Thank you.
All right. Good. Again, this being the second Tuesday of the month, is everybody that has been listening. And those of you that are new to the program, this, of course, you can't be new to Chris's show. Chris has been doing this for quite a while, but this portion of the show, as Chris said, it's me joining him, and I call it the radio component of my blog, which, of course, is Deborah's World. And I do invite you to come on over to Deborah's World and see the kinds of things that I talk about, the things that I hope that you would be interested in, and you're always welcome to comment and share and all of those good things. Also, you can find Deborah's World on Facebook. We have a fan page there, and also at Twitter, and we have a YouTube channel, Chris.
I caught that. As a matter of fact, I sure did.
Yeah, so the thing I want to just mention real quickly about the Deborah's World YouTube channel, what it is that I'm posting up the shows that we do right here on Baseline with Chris Bass, and I'm adding lots of images pretty much to supplement the things that we're talking about. And I tell you, in putting those images up on the up with the show, pairing them up with what we're talking about, sometimes I'm just cracking myself up, Chris.
You are a very talented.
I really am.
You're a very talented, skilled person. I'm telling you, because I was watching it a little while ago before I got here, and I was like, okay, it's interaction of the show that we did via the YouTube. It's very, very smart of you.
Thank you. I hope that people get a chance to get over to YouTube and look at the channel, and I think you'll enjoy that. So what do we got on the agenda today, Chris?
Well, you look, it's the show within a show, so you tell us.
Thank you for that, sir.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, here's what some of the topics that I was thinking about. One of the things, of course, is the Republican debates. They had the A team and the B team just a few nights ago, and lots of reaction about the debates. And for the big debate, where the top tier candidates, where they were on Fox News, the Fox News channel, Fox has been reporting, and I'm sure you've heard, that one airing of the debate garnered them the largest audience that they've ever had, basically for certainly a debate, but, news type of program. 24 million people watched that.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So quickly, I want to find out just how people are feeling about Donald Trump.
I'm sorry, Deb, do me a favor. Go back and say that again, because you had dropped off real quick, so I'm sorry about that. Repeat your sentence.
Oh, wow, I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
I was just basically saying that we want to talk a bit about the Republican debates because, as you know, Fox has said that that was the largest viewing audience for any cable debate political program ever, 24 million people. So apparently lots of people are interested, and that just makes sense to me. Also, want to get some feedback. I want to know how people are feeling about Donald Trump. Sometimes I want to call him Donald the Mouth Trump because he always has something to say, except now he's not going to say this. I'm sorry to Megyn Kelly from Fox about some comments. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the big news about Planned Parenthood. There have been a series of undercover some may say exploits, others may call it an investigation, but Planned Parenthood employees, and I'm not talking about, low-level employees either, high-level employees have been caught on tape discussing the selling of body parts, baby body parts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty interesting, and I want to take it with a different angle because I got an email from a good friend of mine a couple of nights ago, and I have it open here on my computer, and she threw out some hard numbers about who's having abortions, and most, I think specifically, the number of black women that are having abortions. It is incredibly high. So the question really is, are we really talking about the body parts of black babies? And then finally, the fallout from the doctor that shot Cecil the lion, pretty intense. People are still outraged about that. And the doctor, he has suffered quite a bit for his decision to kill the lion. So that's what I think we should talk about today, Chris.
That's a good chop of topics to me. I like that.
I have to do that long rundown because I want people to know what's in store.
Yes.
All right, so we did watch the debates, and to be honest with you, I just caught the debates on the radio in my car because I drive quite a long way each and every day, but I caught most of it in my car. Now, they did replay the debates yesterday, I think it was, so I watched a good chunk of that too. But I'm just really excited that we can have so many candidates. I know a lot of people, Chris, look at that as a negative, and they make a lot of jokes. You've got, 16, 17 people on the Republican side who are vying to become president, and I think on the Democrat side, maybe, 5 or 6 people, if that.
If that.
To me, what it says is that there are lots of people who are really qualified. They are qualified. And it gives the American voter real options, real choices. The only thing people have to do, it's up to us as individuals to take the time to learn about the people. But I thought that was a pretty darn impressive bunch of people at the GOP debates. I really did. Did you watch them?
Yeah, I caught some of it. I do believe, it harkens back to me about Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus.
Chris.
Yeah, it really was. It was the greatest show on earth to that time being. But I absolutely, because I covered on my show too about the Republican debates, and I have to agree with you that at least we have a plethora of people to choose from. And that to me is a good thing because you get a chance once again to do your research on these candidates, the one you gravitate towards, the one you like, and then do your due diligence to see who you want to win. Once again, in all seriousness, to run the United States of America. That's very serious.
It's very serious, and it's not enough just to be a big personality, a very popular person, somebody that people love and adore. I like the personality, I like the character. That's just not enough. We're in some very serious times, Chris.
Yes, we are.
We can talk about the economy. We can talk about, foreign issues, terror issues. These are serious times, and I'm really serious about this.
Yes.
It's just not enough to be a popular personality. You don't know what you're getting there if you just go on personality alone.
Well, let me ask you this. It's interesting you said you heard it in the car because when you said that, it reminded me of the story back in the day when Richard Nixon and, of course, then John Kennedy were going up for the presidency. And a lot of people said that on radio, Nixon won the debate, but on television, because it's visual, of course, stating the obvious, Kennedy was more smooth. He didn't sweat. He was very poised and everything else. So from your perspective, listening to it on radio, who was winning?
That's an excellent question. It really, really is. Now, I have to just say, I know, I think a good deal about a number of the candidates, not all of them.
Right. But
it surprised me. I thought that John Kasich sounded really good.
Interesting.
I really thought he did.
Okay.
Yeah, he did. But having watched just some clips from the earlier debates and what I already have known about Carly Fiorina and having had researched her months ago, she just blew them out the water. I thought she was awesome. I really, really did. But then some of that stuff did get a little crazy, and I really thought Donald Trump, and one point he made when he was talking about the immigration issue, actually it was Chris Wallace that made the issue, he asked him to offer proof that Mexico is sending their undesirables, and he did not offer any proof other than to say that he's gone down to the border and Border Patrol people have talked to him. Did he?
Yes.
Really, that's easy to say, but where's the hard proof?
Right.
I think that's what Chris Wallace was asking him. So, a lot of attention was given to Donald Trump, but I just have this to say about Donald Trump. On the immigration issue, he's absolutely right. He has taken the lead. I don't know if any other candidate would have been this committed to dealing with this issue. He has done that. He has made this one of the centerpieces of the campaign, and for that, I really, really appreciate him for that. But my real question is, for everybody that's just gaga over Trump, and if this is a person that considers himself to be a conservative, what about all of the other issues? Because being president is a lot more than dealing with immigration. Immigration obviously is very important. We're talking about securing our nation's borders. But where does he stand on other issues? And I think that if people research a little bit, they'd find that Donald Trump is a pretty liberal guy.
Well, what's interesting about what you just said about Trump is the guy who has to be the coolest guy in the room. He demands attention. He's going to fire you if you don't like him, and things of that nature. This is how he operates. As a matter of fact, 54% of Trump supporters said they will vote for him for the presidency, even if he did not win the GOP nomination, which is kind of scary to me. They're going to vote for him regardless. And so the thing about Trump, once again, is that if you notice when you're watching the debates anyway, he was like front and center podium while everybody else, of course, was around him. That's what it looked like to me. Because
it did.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know they rebroadcast that yesterday, and I watched some of that. This is what Donald Trump has been very good at, and that is self-promotion.
Yes.
And he has not had to, work his way through the ranks of any sort of, political environment. And that is actually, in these days, these times, that's a good thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that someone has not held elective office today. Because if we look at the big mess that we're in, everything from that stupid Iran deal, and you can go on through any number of things, locally and nationally. These things were done by people with lots of political experience. So I think these days, that's not saying so much. I've got lots of political experience.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've got a deficit that is unprecedented. So I can go on down the line with that. I'm not holding that against him because he's never held political office. What I'm saying is this. He's freewheeling. He's a financed, self-financed guy. He has not had to, nor has he ever desired to, be told what to do. He does what he wants to do. And I'm just wondering how will that work in the political arena, particularly as president or as you run for president.
Well, NBC News / Survey Monkey, I'm not really cool with the name, but Survey Monkey has said on Republican voters said the following after the debate. Donald Trump at 23%, Ted Cruz 13%, Ben Carson 11%, Carly Fiorina says 8%, and Mark Rubio at 8%. Now, what was left out, the name that I thought would be in there would be Jeb Bush, but Jeb Bush was not involved in this particular survey, and Jeb Bush, to the record, has not debated in the past 10 years.
Yeah, that was pretty obvious during his performance the other night. Because, as I said, I was in my car, and I kept thinking, wow, is he flat? There was no oomph there.
Right.
And you don't need to be as dramatic or flamboyant as Donald Trump was, but clearly people have to have a sense that this is your passion. This is what you have been aiming to do for, if not all of your life, most of your life. And it just seemed like he just wanted to let you know, hey, I want to be president, and, I've rethought some things, and I'm a good guy, and, hey, vote for me.
Yeah, it was very milquetoast.
Yeah, he really, really was. He really was. And he has a lot of experience, no question about that,
right.
But when it comes to that communicating device there, and that is, the inflection in your voice and all of that kind of stuff, he just failed on it. He really did.
Yeah, and I thought, this is before, Trump got into the picture, that the GOP nomination, as far as I was concerned, in an earlier perspective, would be Jeb. Because Jeb has the story, Jeb has the war chest, and plus, to come behind his brother and father, he has, the great Americans, he has, the storyline to really work. Now, that cannot work in his favor if he does not really he really needs to practice, like I said before, when it comes to public speaking. I'm sure he's used to, because, he was governor in Florida all those years. So, you had to work as hard. I mean, you had to work for the job. You got the job. But I think he needs to go back and get some retooling and some restructuring because, he's in for a fight.
Oh, he's no question about that. He's in for a fight. What's interesting, though, is that if we were talking about Jeb Bush running for president, let's say 4 years ago, or certainly 8 years ago, he would not have stood a chance.
Not at all.
He just would not have stood a chance. And there was some discussions back then about, well, maybe it's time for Jeb. There were so many people, and particularly in the Republican Party, who were saying, no, not now. No more Bushes right now, if ever. These last 8 years have been such a, how can I say it? It's been a very challenging time for the nation. This is why you see so many candidates, and this is why you see on the Democrat side a guy like Bernie Sanders, who I'm not criticizing Bernie Sanders at all.
Right.
But my point is, here's a guy from one of the smallest states in the country, a guy with virtually no name recognition before he got into the race, how he can be neck and neck with Hillary Clinton. All of these things can be explained by the fact that the country is in a lot of trouble. And people on both sides of the aisle, supporters on both sides of the aisle, they're looking for a new direction. Where that direction will come from, Chris, I don't know.
Right.
But I think these things are indicative of an unsettled feeling amongst people. People's pocketbooks are tighter than they've been in generations, really. Jobs of most people, well, not most, but a huge number of people are working part-time jobs now. More people are on welfare now, food stamps now. There are threats all over the place. And am I trying to lay it at the feet of just one person, the president? No, I'm not. He has a huge, huge responsibility. But we have a Congress, they can be blamed as well. But whoever you point the finger at, it doesn't change anything. It is what it is. And we're dealing with some very, very difficult issues right now. And I just think people, they don't want to make a mistake this time. They don't want to bring somebody in who made a bunch of promises and deliver, not much more than if you're a dreamer and you want to become an American. This is a good time for them. Illegals have said, you know what, hey, I want to become an American. I've been dreaming about it. We've had legislation passed, the DREAM Act. This has been a great time for them.
Right.
If you have wanted, to become married as a gay person, this has been a fabulous time for you. Mm-hmm. But if you've wanted to start a business, this has been an awful time for you. If you've graduated from college and have been looking for a job, this has been a very, very challenging time. So my point is, this is just reality. I know it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. This is the only way you can explain the things that we are now witnessing. All of these candidates on one side, candidates with little or no name recognition, at the top of the list with a woman who has an enormous amount of name recognition. People are searching. That's really the bottom line. I can sum it up that way. People are searching, and they don't want to make a mistake.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think, and I concur with you, that people are looking for new voices, and a new voice particularly because they're tired of the same old, or anything being repackaged in the same old guise and the same old rhetoric and that type of thing. It's definitely time for change, and not the change that Barack Obama used when he was running for office, but a new type of change, because we are in dire straits. I mean, people won't talk about it.
We're in dire straits.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it makes me almost uneasy to say those things, because I know how passionate some people are, particularly about the president. And I knew President Obama back from his state Senate days. He would be on my show on LS several times. I've got video of he and I on Chicago Tonight. He's not a stranger to me. I know him as an individual. I know he's a decent person. But that has nothing to do with the policies and the outcome of those promises and where people are today. Those
Deborah,
two things are separate in my mind.
Deborah, do me a favor. Hold on. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back, of course, with your show, Deborah's World. Within my show, Chris Bass and Baseline, this is UBM Talk on urbanbroadcastmedia.com. Stay close.
Now back to the conversation on UBM Talk.
And welcome back into Baseline. Chris Bass back with you. This is UBM Talk on urbanbroadcastmedia.com. When you download the Urban Broadcast Media app on your smartphone, you make us a part of your life. Show email, I am chrisbass@gmail.com, facebook.com/Chris Bass, CHRIS, B is in broadcasting, ASE. Twitter.com, @Chris Bays, all one word. The phone number for you to call in and connect is 312-754-4333. 312-754-4333. As we return inside Deborah's world, of course, Deborah Rowe back on the program. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. I am doing good, and I want to thank you again, as always, for having me here. And also, Chris, just again, I'd like to give out the blog address. I have to always look that up. Isn't that something? Oh, Deborah, DeborahRowe.blogspot.com. So come over and just see some of the things that I wrote about or have written about. Just a rundown of things I've written about, even just like my last 8 or 9 posts. Bill Cosby, there's always room in JAILO. Too bad President Obama didn't talk with Uncle Oscar. That's a good one. Got a lot of views on that one. Warning to Democratic presidential candidates, don't say white lives matter. And that was what happened with Martin O'Malley and also Bernie Sanders when Black Lives Matter when they they made it known that they didn't want to hear about white lives matter. Also, this was former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich's biggest crime. And just a bunch of other things. I did another piece on Jonathan Pollard's release. See, Obama really is Israel's friend. So lots of things that you can, read about. I'll give my opinions. And it's not just politics, but I write about music and just things that interest me. So please, I invite you to check out Deborah's World, my blog there. So, Chris, I was thinking during the break, for me, the 3 things that I'm most interested in and I want to hear the candidates talk about: national security. I'm very concerned about that. Also, jobs, and that's the economy, and border security. Those are the 3 big things. There are other things, obviously, like energy dependency I'm concerned about, but those are my big 3. Do you have a top 3 things you're concerned about?
Yeah, pretty much I'll think about jobs, pretty much similar to your list. Jobs, border security, and education.
Yeah.
Yeah, those would be my 3.
Okay. Speaking of border security, because that was the other thing I wanted to kind of get, some kind of feedback from and give you my opinion. But, how do you feel about the wall? That's what Donald Trump says. He would put a wall up. And I think that was Governor Scott Walker, you can correct me if I'm wrong, who said that a wall is not enough because El Chapo, he dug a tunnel and went, underneath. He didn't go over a wall. I think a wall is a good idea. In fact, I think anything we could possibly do is a good idea. We have to curtail the influx, and for whatever reason, that just doesn't seem to be something that either Democrats or Republicans are committed to.
No, you're right. I'm all for the fact of curbing the influx of people, no matter where they come from in this country, because
that's right.
We need to heal our own first before we try to help anybody else, and we need to really take care of them. Just being pro our own, not trying to be anti anything else. Like I said before about BS, runs a marathon, and what happens is that look, for example, in today's technology, you have this high-tech security, for example, here in Chicago, where they put them on top of lampposts, and you see, 4-block radiuses. They can zoom in on people's houses damn near, their backyards, the alleys and everything else. So you can't tell me there's no high security for the same with them when it comes to borders. That's bullcrap. What's happening is that they're being allowed in. It's like, well, I have my back turned. Don't worry about it. I'll turn my back and let all these foreigners come on in. And then who's to say that nobody's skimming off the top? Because money goes a long way.
Yes, it does. And
I can't prove it, of course, but if you were to pay somebody to say, look, here's some money, turn your back, let my family come in. You know what I'm saying? Something has to be, somebody's doing a give and take. And so all I'm
well,
saying,
you know, and I'm not even convinced that that's where the real money is in paying to allow people to come over the border. I think because there's so little protection at the border, once people get in, they're just free to, you know, disperse.
Yeah.
You know, Cesar, I think that's how he pronounces it, the dog whisperer.
Yeah.
He comes on TV, cute little guy. He can really manage your dog's behavior.
Right.
Well, I was watching a special on his life, and this guy's a fascinating man. He came across the border at 17 years old, but he went back a couple years ago to the very spot that he crossed over, and you just saw all of these people crossing over. There's nobody there really taking money. They just make their way, and then they run and they stay, you know, huge numbers in one house or get an apartment. Some of them stay outside until they're able to get a job. And I'm thinking the real money, however, is in those jobs. If an employer, let's say, for instance, and I'm going to use an article that I read in the Sun-Times well over a decade ago, but they talked about the reality of illegal, work. You know, Chris, most people still think that illegals are basically doing agricultural work and cleaning bathrooms and making beds. They do that, but they can also be found in huge numbers in the construction industry. And I think the point was well made in the article where they said that, for example, if a union job is paying $30 an hour, if you hire on an illegal, you can pay him $17 an hour. That's a pretty nice savings. But I always think, what American wouldn't want to have a $17 an hour job? Forget about being in the union. Who wouldn't want to have a $17 an hour job?
Right.
But that's why I think the real money is. It's in having workers that you can pay less to because they're not legal. You can pay them under the table. You can avoid some taxes. And that's where I think the real money is.
Well, I stand corrected. Maybe I didn't phrase myself right, and I probably did not. I guess my overall point was there's nobody guarding the border because we have too many people coming in here. Yeah. So that's the point. That's my point I made by turning your back. And then eventually when you have illegal people here who are willing to do those type of jobs, like you just said, then that money thing comes into play, and it becomes, you know, do you take this job a certain amount or X amount, or do you do not? Like you said before, you're absolutely right. There are Americans who will take that pay.
Americans want these jobs, and again, it has to be stressed. We're not just talking about working on a farm. We're talking about all kinds of jobs and all kinds of industries. That's what the reality is today. And then one other thing, there are so many associated costs. For instance, Chicago, as we all know, is a sanctuary city. Well, you can go through some neighborhoods, and particularly Hispanic neighborhoods, over the past, particularly when Daley was in office, the second Daley, where new schools were being constructed, they most all were built in Hispanic neighborhoods where, let's just keep it real, you know, a huge number of the population there is, in fact, illegal.
Right.
So you've got taxpayer dollars that have gone to build multi-million-dollar edifices for education, and that's taxpayer money. But, again, we're dealing in a sanctuary city. So this thing is so complex, and I'm going to echo your statement. It's not that I'm against anybody else, but I'm definitely pro my own. And our country is suffering. The black unemployment rate for youth is outlandish.
It is.
It is outlandish. You're not going to tell me they wouldn't want to, you know, pick up on some of those jobs. And I know some of them don't want to work, but it's a lot of youth that do want to work and absolutely can't find jobs.
No, and it makes a very valid point because nobody's really looking. And, you know, when it comes down to the percentages of black youth not getting jobs, it gets to a point where we don't want to give it to them. Like for example, I'm watching television recently, and, you know, once again, I'm not racist, but I'm looking at some things that were originally us as black folk and now being presented by white folk on television. Whether it's, look, I'm watching ESPN. They were doing like a dunk contest here in the city about maybe sometime a few months ago, and they got Russian guys and they got white guys in this kind. And once again, my point being is that if I didn't know any better, they want to project, see, just in the NBA alone, a certain image of non-black players or non-black, and so I'm watching, and once again, I'm not racist, but I do see a trend over the years when it comes to, for example, the NBA being more global, because we can be more global and not have the traditional black player to represent who we are.
Well, to be perfectly honest, just for me, again, I would imagine that's an issue for a lot of people, but when I look at the total number of NBA players,
yes,
I mean, it's minuscule compared to the general population of black people. I am far more concerned about jobs for unskilled workers now.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about young people and people with little or no education. You go and work, go check out any place in a hotel. You go through all of the rooms, you go through the kitchens, whatever. You will scarcely find a young black person. You go to many restaurants, same thing, bussing tables. You will scarcely find a young black person. Many of these jobs used to be jobs held by young blacks and young whites, but increasingly Americans are not in those jobs. And I think we were fed partly a lie. Americans don't want those jobs. They don't want to do those jobs. Maybe we could say that when there were more manufacturing jobs available. There were more plants that people with little or no skills could go and work. Those are few and far between today. So anybody that wants to work, their opportunities are indeed limited, but that even increases because non-Americans, non-legal citizens are in those jobs. So I guess my bottom line, just to surmise, put it real succinctly, as far as entertainment is concerned, I always put that to the back. I mean, I understand what people are saying. I read a piece about where are the blacks in baseball. I'm sorry about that. But my focus right now are the jobs that will impact millions of people. And why are we allowing illegal aliens to do those jobs? And I have to say, there are some people who simply don't want to work. Yeah.
Right.
But for those that do want to work, it's a shame that they can't get those jobs.
Well, and I concur what you say about that. I guess for me, it's the overall big picture. It's not just the NBA, which is very minuscule, as you said. It's also leading to what you said about non-jobs when it comes to the black community or black youth, because that goes back to taking the trade skill out of high schools. Not everybody.
And replaced it with what?
Right, but see that's right. See, not everybody was meant to go to college. Let's be completely real.
That's right, Chris.
So
there you go. I'm glad you said that.
So you can't force a college material on somebody. There are just certain people who would not have the DNA for it. So that was the reason why you had trade skills to go into various things. So that way the person can be independent, get a job in their trade skill, and take it from there. But when you take those opportunities out of the schools, especially, of course, in high schools, then what do you have? You have nothing. Once again, not everybody was meant to be college, university material.
You're right. So that leaves these people up a creek.
Exactly.
They're up a creek.
They're screwed.
Unless you're going to pay some proprietary school an obscene amount of money and still no guarantee of a job.
Right.
That's the other part there. I do want to say something about, and some people may feel this is an endorsement. It's really not, because I'm going to make a point. But a while back, I was watching Carly Fiorina, and she talked about something that really grabbed my attention. That's what really put me on Carly Fiorina. She talked about opportunity, and everybody uses the word opportunity. But she said it was basically unconscionable. And I mean, those weren't her words. That wasn't her word. It's mine. But her issue was how black businesses, small black businesses, where's the growth? Where's the environment that has been created for growth? And that if black businesses and people in the black community, and this is closer to her words, had more avenues for building businesses, getting, monies and all of that kind of stuff for starting businesses. There's a lot of small black businesses that are basically one person operations, and that would be, a good number of them, who could use real support from the government. I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying give, but support, loans, what have you. For the last 8 years, not a word has been spoken about that, and I dare anybody to challenge me on that.
No, that's true. Now, I remember back in the day when I was a mere youth going to grammar school, there was a guy who was a it was school, kind of like traffic, person, going, across the street and everything else, crossing guard. And so the same crossing guard, because for at the time, you don't find too many 6'4" black gentlemen as crossing guards, so he stood out.
Right.
And come to find out that he owned a ice cream parlor in the black community.
Okay.
And so when I finally made the connection that it was him, I told my parents about it. We started to go there frequently. In fact, we stopped getting ice cream from the stores and went straight to him. In fact,
how about that?
My sister's birthday party was there at one point to give him business. We recommended him all the time. And then he told us one day, well, this has happened like maybe 2 years straight. And then we go on to the, like we always do. We were like constant regulars. And he tells us he has to shut down. And my father's like, why you got to shut down? What's wrong? Because I get no support.
So there you go. And when I heard her say that, that was striking to me.
Yes.
Because we have not heard any discussion about building these businesses. We hear about so much that relates to illegals, and I'm going back to that point, and other issues. But this core base of people have been incredibly loyal. Where has the effort been to really put some real teeth into helping grow these businesses? It hasn't existed. So with her being an incredibly successful businesswoman, I thought, man, there could be something there. There really could be something there, because I haven't heard anybody talk about it. This wasn't in a debate. This was just a woman talking about building business and communities who have just been locked out. And I was like, wow. So that was impressive to me.
It is, because once again, it goes back to what you said about new voices. We don't hear about things like that on any level at times. And so here comes, a potential candidate for the presidency mentioning that. I think is admirable.
I think it's admirable, and I also think it's something that's pretty provocative. But we still are dealing with the issue of, I can't listen to them. I can't listen to her. She's a Republican. I don't want to hear it. No, that's a Republican talking. So we're going to cut off our nose to spite our face. That, I'm hoping we're kind of moving beyond that. In fact, I had a fantastic conversation last night with a couple of women who are lifelong Democrats who literally, without any prodding from me, not that I could prod people, but with no prodding from me, said at this point they're willing to listen to anybody.
And that's as it should be. That's as it should. I totally agree.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, they both were saying, I'm open. I want to hear what people are talking about. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
I want to backtrack real quick, because you said something fascinating earlier about, once again, new voices from either side of the aisle. And you mentioned the statement, as paraphrasing what you said, about the GOP Republicans saying that, okay, maybe somebody in the party or somebody's in the parties was saying, well, you know what, no more Bushes for that time being.
Yeah.
Okay, could we also say the same about the Democrats saying no more Clintons?
You know what? I don't think we'll ever hear that vocalized, but I think that the polls are indicating that sentiment could be there. And I don't know if it's no more Clintons per se, but she really hasn't made the compelling argument yet. And I think that's why she's actually struggling right now. Right. And she is struggling. Now, you may say, well, she's at the top of the heap, but what heap? I mean, it's not a lot of candidates right now, and I think her strategy really is to lay low as she possibly can.
Right.
And ease on into the nomination. And then she'll be in a battle between herself and a Republican. But there's still some questions as to whether or not Biden will get in, whether or not Kerry will get in, whether or not Elizabeth Warren will get in. And there are actually a couple of other names. So, but to answer your question, there's just this incredible loyalty to the Clintons. I think people would be reluctant to say, we don't want to deal with the Clintons anymore. No more Clintons. I don't think we'd ever hear that.
So we don't want to go against the throne.
There you go. I think you're right there. I really do. Can we, I was just trying to look at the time there. But coming up, though, I do want to talk a bit, and maybe we can get started with the Minnesota dentist. Was it Dr. Palmer? Walter Palmer, who was over in Africa on a big game hunt, and according to him, unbeknownst to him, he killed Cecil the lion, this, protected animal, and it all went downhill for Dr. Palmer after that. Did you hear some of the things that have happened to Dr. Palmer since then?
Well, I've not too much. I've heard that, there's a lot of cyberbullying against him at this point.
Lots of cyberbullying.
Right, lots of cyberbullying. I think it wasn't Cecil's brother was killed too? I heard a rumor about that. Was that true?
His son, I think, was recently killed.
His son was recently killed.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm saying son, his offspring.
Offspring, right.
Cub, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'm sure he has been. Because Cecil got around. He was a Rolling Stone,
Oh, yeah, Cecil was a Rolling Stone.
Right.
But I think it's interesting that there is a push right now, and there's a petition going around, at least 300,000 signatures, where people want his medical license to be revoked. And I'm thinking,
Yeah,
I'm not making that connection.
Didn't I read something?
That was not a good thing that he killed the lion.
Right.
Okay, I get that. But I haven't heard any of his patients come out to say, he ruined my root canal. I mean, my dentures, they fell apart. Or, he caused me so much pain when he extracted my tooth. I haven't heard anybody say anything negative about him as a doctor. The petition drive is in direct response to him killing the lion, and they feel he no longer should have the right to earn a living as a dentist. He should no longer be able to practice dentistry ever again in the state of Minnesota because he killed a lion.
Didn't I read somewhere that his home was vandalized?
His vacation home was vandalized.
Right.
There are threats against his life. I mean, there are all kinds of things, and I'm thinking, now, you know what? People are overreacting.
Yeah. Yes,
I'm just going to put it out there. They are overreacting. There are protests. I'm looking at a picture right now from The Guardian. Of course, that's a British paper, but they have their people here. And there are people standing outside near his clinic, and they have signs. One guy says, "I am Cecil."
Yeah, I caught that. Are you kidding me? You're not a lion.
What? You're not a lion.
You are not a lion. You are not an animal, right?
Right. And I'm thinking, what is happening? I'm serious. What is going on with people? I think that they are really overreacting. Now, of course, I believe that's South Africa. If he ever crosses their soil again, they're going to arrest him, and he faces 10 years in prison. Okay, I can see where they're coming from.
Right.
But Americans tearing a man's property up and fighting to get his license revoked and making threats against his life and cyberbullying, I'm thinking, calm the heck down.
No, that's a wee bit too much. That's a little bit too much.
It really is. But at the same time, now I'm going to kind of mix in another topic here.
Well, tell you what, hold that thought. We're going to hit the break right now. That way we get to do the tease. And then we tease the audience and everything else. So, Deborah Rowe, hang on one second. We're going to take the break. We'll come back. Also, you want to call in. The phone number is 312-754-4333. 312-754-4333. Deborah Rowe, Deborah's World, within this show. Chris Bass with Baseline, right here on UBM Talk, urbanbroadcastmedia.com. Stay close.
I want you to get together.
Urban Broadcast Media, proudly broadcasting from studios located in the Bronzeville community in the city of Chicago. Heard around the world at urbanbroadcastmedia.com.
Thank you for listening to UBM Talk.
Welcome back in. Of course, you know what day it is. I told you before, in the first hour. We're going to bring it back, of course, to the second hour as well. When you bring into the world of my world, which is correspondence and everything else, there's other worlds out there you get to explore. And so when you explore other worlds, you have to embrace this one. So fade minds out and bring up my lovely correspondence theme as we continue her world, because her world is very nice to be a part of. She's a talented talk show host who appeared on radio stations such as WLSAM and WYLLAM. Over the years, she was a frequent guest on television talk programs such as WTTW in Chicago, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, and many more. Please welcome back to the second hour, as she calls, and I totally agree, the show within the show, Deborah's World, Deborah Rowe.
Hey, Chris.
Hey,
you know
how you
what
doing?
I have to tell you? The second Monday of the month really is a big highlight for me. It really, really is.
Oh.
I just enjoy doing the show with you so much. I really do. So thank you again.
Well, you are far too kind. Like I said before you get into your plug there, I've always been an admirer of your work. At the time we were together back at LS, I've always wanted to do something with you on air. And so now the platform provides itself, and I'm so honored that you be a part of the program.
I'm loving it. Thank you again, Chris. And let me invite our listeners, and I know they can be anywhere on this globe. This is another thing I love about Internet radio. You know what's interesting? I don't know if you guys track your listeners, because, Chris, we worked at another Internet radio station together before, not on the air at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I know there are ways in which you can track how many listeners you have to your show, and I don't know if they've done that and provided that for you. But I get so much encouragement because even with my blog, Deborah's World, you don't see very many responses and you don't see very many comments. But when I go on the back end and look at the people who have come to visit the blog and what posts they're reading and how many posts they're reading, that's what keeps me going, because if I didn't have knowledge of that, I would be like, I guess I'm just writing this for myself. So, but it's really, really cool. And since I've started, man, I'm inching towards 3,000 viewers.
Very cool.
I love that. And people coming in and reading not just one, and you can track the times that they come in and what days and all of that kind of stuff, and it's very, very cool. So I am just so encouraged, and I just want to say to everybody that's listening, I invite you to visit Deborah's World over at deborahrowe.blogspot.com. You can also find me over on Twitter, Deborah, and that's no apostrophe there, Deborah's __world. We have the YouTube channel, and when Chris and I are done with this show, and Brittany, I know you're listening, as she always does, she'll send me a copy of the show, and I'll get to work matching up images with today's show, and then we'll get that posted up on our YouTube channel, hopefully in a few days, hopefully. Chris also has some headlines I want to get to, too, as well. But before I go there, I just want to talk a bit about this whole Planned Parenthood scandal. Mm-hmm. It really is scandal. And for me personally, it's always been scandals, but there's a new scandal where we do have an organization that has done, I think, remarkable work in terms of going undercover and visiting Planned Parenthood. And they went to the facility in Houston, Texas. And I know that there have been people, and I saw this up today, I think it was on your page, where somebody posted, oh, they're not selling body parts, and that's just an edited version of the video.
Right.
Actually, there are 4, I think it is, maybe 3, but I think there are 4 edited videos that have been released. But what nobody has talked about is the 5.5-hour unedited, uncut video. I have watched that thing.
Okay.
And anybody, and I will say it again, anybody that says that they are not selling body parts, either 1, doesn't want to believe it, 2, are just in deep denial, and 3, I would recommend that you watch the full video. And now with these 4 or 5 videos, these are 4 or 5 different people, and none of these are, like I said before, low-level people. They are talking about some incredible things, and what really got me was the callousness, the callousness of which they thought they were making a deal. They thought what this video really shows is that Planned Parenthood thought that they were talking to new potential clients. That's what this is really about. And the people that did the undercover work, they posed as though they were with one of these research companies, but they obviously weren't. And it is stunning. And I know that President Obama, he did issue a statement earlier when this story first broke and said that he basically was disappointed that the video had been edited. No, that's not where my disappointment lies. My disappointment lies in the fact that these are ghouls. I'm sorry, these are ghouls. But if you can sit there and sip your wine and eat your salad and laugh and talk about, yeah, well, I can get you, you want the heart, you want the liver, and then they have this list I was just looking at, too, of all the different parts that we make available. In the unedited video, the woman that's sitting there doing all of the talking, she even talks about, yeah, sometimes we just get in our cars and we just drive down and we drop off the parts, and it's it's an unfortunate situation. It really is. Let me take a moment here because I really want to say this. This occurred to me after I watched the full-length video. And I would encourage people to watch it. If we can watch all kinds of horror movies, if we can watch, all kinds of things in terms of Facebook videos and all that kind of stuff, some things planned and something, all this, we can tolerate anything in a video, except for people don't want to see this on video. The woman from Planned Parenthood, she talks about we can get your brain, kidney, thymus, liver, spleen, femur, bone marrow, stem cells, anywhere 14 to 22-week gestation. We got it. They are selling the parts. Now, having said that, this is the little thing that I have come away with from this. Yes, Planned Parenthood are abortionists. We all know that. And yes, abortion is legal in this country. We all know that. And yes, people have a right to either be for it or against it. We know that. But what I have concluded, more than abortionists, they're building a new business. And they really are in the business of supplying whole cadavers and parts to all kinds of companies. They even talked about a company that wanted to what they call humanize mice so that they could research immune deficiency experimentations and develop all kind of pharmaceuticals. This is where I think they're going to generate even more money. They've got a lot of clients. Lots of people are just negotiating with them to buy the cadavers, the fetal tissues, and the body parts. So if you doubt they're really doing that, look at the whole video. They leave no stone unturned. And when I say they, I'm not talking about the people that were undercover. I'm talking about the Planned Parenthood woman. It's pretty scary. So, yeah, I really see that maybe they're even ultimately will just say it. Yeah, we do abortions, but our real business is in selling these parts. That's the part. That was my takeaway from that video. That was my takeaway. But here's my question. Chris, I got an email, and I've just pulled it up here now. This woman basically wanted to know why I had not talked about, not Donald Trump, but about Father Michael Pfleger's response to Donald Trump. I didn't talk about it because I didn't know about it, and I don't just talk about everything. I talk about things that interest me. And hearing Father Pfleger, comment on Trump was nothing that really interests me. But she sent me the post that he made on Facebook, and basically it said this: the disgust with politicians across this country has allowed a Donald Trump to become a leading candidate in the Republican Party. The real scary thing to me, though, is how many Americans believe in what he stands for. While many laugh and enjoy his freestyle ranting, we should be frightened because he is bringing out the very worst of American values and giving them a platform. Perhaps Mr. Trump is pulling back the covers on the real America, and that, my friends, is the scariest thing of all. After she posted his comments from Facebook, she put her own response in. I've been sitting for the past couple of days trying to figure out, because she didn't want to be identified. How can I put this up? These are not my words, and I don't want to take those words as being my words. Like, here's my latest post. I don't do that.
Right.
But I really want people to read her posts, her comments, because they're incredible. But I want to take a little excerpt because it ties back into the Planned Parenthood and my question about the parts, and raising the question, are we really talking about primarily the parts of black babies, black aborted babies? This is what she says. Democrats, with the help of their black political lapdogs, now, I don't call people lapdogs, so that right there should tell you this is not me.
All
but
right.
she says Democrats, with the help of their black political lapdogs, have maneuvered to place 80% of Planned Parenthood abortuaries in black communities across this nation, where collectively 1,300 black babies are torn out of their black mothers' wombs each day, 6 days of each of the 52 weeks of the year. It has been estimated that 23 million black babies have been aborted since 1973, then she says, which is really the planned demise of black political power in the U.S. And as the headlines indicated over the past few weeks, Planned Parenthood outlets are selling these black baby parts at a premium on the tissue market. Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry, I just had to put that in. I said that. She didn't say that. That's my footnote to it.
Right.
Black Lives Matter. I wonder, does that matter to anybody? If this is a fact, and I don't see why they wouldn't. I think that would be fairly easy to track the number of Planned Parenthoods in black communities and the number of abortions that are had by black women. You would have to conclude that that's basically what's happening.
Well, yeah, if one thing, it should be shocking to all people, but it's not, because you just have people out there who just, it doesn't concern them, it doesn't really care in their universe. Now, let's go back to what you said about organ trade. Organ trade involving the inner human organs usually consists of heart, liver, kidneys, etc. Now, what makes you think that it stops at kidneys?
We know for a fact it doesn't.
Right, exactly.
They even talked about everything from urine to, they named every conceivable part of the body.
Right.
That they are willing to offer.
Right.
And that they do, in fact, sell. Well, they actually said they both donate and procure. They buy, they sell, they trade, I guess. They make a lot of money off of this. And they went into good detail about how just because we're a nonprofit, which I'm thinking, why are you even nonprofit? They think we don't have to be concerned about our finances. So they don't want to be lowballed for these body parts.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to really bring that up. I don't even have much more of a discussion about it, Chris, because you're right. People, they are pretty numb to it, and the whole issue of abortion has become such a polarizing issue. I don't think that people really really take the time to really intellectually think about what's going on here.
I agree.
Yeah, and then just because I'm just going to say this, there is more than one website, by the way. There are websites where people who were aborted, now that sounds crazy to a lot of people I know.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy. But they're up there with their stories, their moms, and some of them are disfigured, during the process of abortion. They've lost limbs and whatever. But I know on broadcast radio, this topic would be like, shut it down, cut it off, this is too much, listeners don't want to hear it. But I just feel that's just my little contribution to just boosting awareness. And after you become aware, if it's still nothing that you care about, then that's fine. That's on you.
Right.
But I think because most people really don't know. For instance, the nurse right out of Illinois, Jill Stanek, she's the person responsible for the Born Alive bill. It's a federal law now. George Bush signed. Mm-hmm. That became a law only because when Jill Stanek was working right here, right outside Chicago at a suburban hospital, when she found a baby that had been aborted in the dirty laundry, he hadn't died, and she was stunned. Then we find out that that's not an all too uncommon practice, because we always think, well, they go in and have an abortion, that's the end of it. No, lots of times they don't die. So that's when all of this went on, and that became a federal law that when these babies do survive abortions, you can't just let them sit in a linen closet and die. Then you have to treat them, because that would just be double cruelty, I guess. All right, Chris, I'll put the difficult stuff down now, but I did, and thank you so much for letting me say that, because I think it's important for people to know. No, these are not made-up stories. No, those videos have not been edited to convince you that something is going on that's not going on. It is, in fact, going on. And I can also provide a link if you want to watch the full, unedited video yourself. You can go over to lifenews.com. That's LIFE news.com, and watch the video in its entirety for yourself. And you then be the judge as to whether or not they are selling these parts or not. Can we go to headlines, Chris?
Of course you can.
Thank you so much, sir. Donald Sterling is back in the news.
No,
Remember?
please. Yeah.
Yeah, he's back in the news.
Donald Duck Sterling is back, man.
Oh, Donald Sterling is back. He is suing V. Stiviano. Yes, he is. He says that she surreptitiously recorded their conversations. He says she did that sometime between September 2013 and April of 2014. And then either she or one of her people, her emissaries, they released it to TMZ. And from that point on, his life has been turned upside down. So, yeah, he gave her a lot of gifts, but now he's going to take, if he is successful in his lawsuit, he's going to take as much as he can away from her. How do you feel about that lawsuit, though?
He needs to sit down and take his Geritol. Sit down and shut up, because here's the thing about Donald Duck Sterling.
Okay.
You cannot have sour grapes over a situation where you also incriminated yourself in the tapings by saying the racist statements that he made. When you go back to the whole
right, yes, he did.
Right. When you go through the whole thing, look, if you want to have eye candy on your arm like V. Stiviano, okay, that's great. Uh-huh. You want to give her 8-to-5 cars, Bentleys, and the whole nine, that's your business. But when you talk about the business of the sport of him at the time owning the LA Clippers, and you're saying to them that, had it not been for me, it had not been for me, they would not be out there doing their thing. It's like the plantation mentality that he had with his ball players. And so not the thing that the ball players earned the right to have a paycheck, had not been for me being the great white father, those players, would not even stand a chance to even walk right or put the clothes in their back or the food they eat. That was from me. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? So, look.
Okay. Okay, I hear you on that. And you know what?
It's sour grapes. He lost the team. He lost his girlfriend, so shut up.
Did he lose his wife yet? I think they were on their way to divorce court. I don't know if that's finalized or not.
Right.
But here's the way I look at that situation.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what? Ditto to you on. He made the decision. He wanted to be a big baller, which he actually was a big baller. Some people call themselves a big baller, but he really was a big baller.
Right.
But he wanted this young woman, and he wanted to cheat on his wife with her and all of that kind of stuff. But she was wrong. She was wrong. I look at it this way.
Okay.
If there is somebody, I'm going to use somebody that a lot of people like, adore, and in his private home or the home of his girlfriend, they're having a conversation, and that woman decides, okay, for whatever reason, I still don't know today what her reason was, that they'll release this audio to the media, and suddenly all of his personal feelings, his private feelings, are now out for the world. I don't think a lot of people would like that. And maybe it wouldn't be, for instance, somebody saying, whatever. It could be something that they're expressing about gays or something that they really feel about blacks or whites or whatever.
Right.
I think most people would say it was wrong. But I think because he is not, pardon me, he is not a very likable guy. He talked about racial issues and he exposed a racist sentiment.
Yes.
I think people think that's okay, but it's really not okay. We still have a right to privacy and private conversations, even when they're ugly.
Yeah, you're right, too. We're on the break, and we'll come back and continue this conversation. I like what you're going with this, but I'm telling you, this is what you get for cheating on your wife.
Now, I'm with you on that one,
No,
Chris,
really, because
100%.
you got this skank hooker whore from the streets. You build her up and everything else. What do you expect? She needed leverage. If she gonna come after you, she needed leverage. So that's why she tape recorded your ass, and that's why you Howard Solid. Tell you what, I know you're talking about the privacy issue. We're on the break. Hold on, Deborah. Deborah's World, right here with Deborah Rowe and me, Chris Bass and Baseline. UBM Talk, urbanbroadcastmedia.com. Stay close.
Now back to the conversation on UBM Talk.
Welcome back into Baseline. Chris Bass back with you. This is UBM Talk on urbanbroadcastmedia.com. When you download the Urban Broadcast Media app on your smartphone, you make us a part of your life. Show email, I am chrisbass@gmail.com. Facebook.com/Chris Bass, CHRIS. B is in broadcasting, ASE. Twitter.com @Chris Bass, all one word. The phone number is 312-754-4333. 312-754-4333. Welcome back, of course, Deborah Rowe, who brings us Deborah's World every second Monday right here on Baseline. Of course, got the last half hour left. So before the pause, Deborah, you mentioned about Donald Duck Sterling being back in the news, suing his former side piece. What's that? What's his name? What's his name again?
V. Stiviano.
Yeah, V. Stiviano. Right. Yeah, I remember her. She had that visor on her head.
That's right.
Yes.
You know what? Before I go any further, I just want to say to Brittany, your producer.
Yes.
She has got to send me that song. I know that's like the house version of Give Me the Night.
Right. There you go.
That is so hot. I love that. Every time she plays it, I always think, I got to ask her for that.
Yeah, that's the first time I played it because I was going, I select my own bumper music, of course, and it's from my own personal library. And so, no, she'll get you a copy of it. Can you do that for her? Send her a copy. Yeah, send her a copy of that link, and you catch it on YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Very tight. Very good version of that song.
Love that. All right, so Miss V. Stiviano. So, Chris, now when you say that, that's what he gets for cheating on his wife. Yeah, that is what he gets. But it sends a chill to me a little bit because it also reminds me of, remember Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Yes, yeah.
Also busted saying some racist stuff. And, he suffered greatly for that, but he said that in a private conversation. I think it was his son that exposed him.
True.
I just say, I'll put it this way. Today is somebody that is distasteful, but tomorrow, what if it's somebody that we really like, and their private conversations are exposed, released to the press?
So you say it would be a double standard?
I'm sure it would be.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. I'll go along with that, yeah.
Yeah. All right, here's another headline, Chris.
Sure.
Mayor Rahm Emanuel has now, I'm going to put it the right way, so let me just read the headline. Chicago taxpayers to pay for city workers' sex change procedures. You got your money ready, Chris?
I'm broke.
Boy, despite being financially strapped and facing one of the lowest credit ratings in the nation, Chicago is preparing to announce $100,000 available to transgenders for sex change. The Sun-Times reports that. Isn't that something? And see, here's the thing. If they're city workers and they're entitled to benefits, I guess this is what the taxpayers are going to have to do. But obviously the mayor has decided to add that one on. I don't live in the city. I wouldn't be pleased. Thankfully, it's just $100,000, but I'm just wondering how city residents feel about their tax dollars going for that.
Yeah, well, it's like it would be nice if we were able to be selective in our own, way of paying taxes. But that's not going to happen. So
we can't do that, and that's pretty much where I land, Chris.
Yeah,
it is what it is. But now this story is related, but I feel very differently about that. In California, last week, a city council meeting just erupted. This was in the town of Huntington Park, California. One woman, she jumped up and she screamed, "You're out of order!" And you know why she said that?
Why is that?
Because a councilman there, Johnny Pineda, he appointed two men, Frank Medina and Julian Zatarain, to commissions of the city, and they're both illegal aliens.
Ooh-wee, okay.
So people are like, wait, now this is just getting out of control. So now they're going to on the board to, decide what direction the city's going to go in, and they're not even American citizens. I just thought that was an interesting headline. That is. And I don't know, Chicago, it being a sanctuary city, maybe some people would feel that's fine, that's okay. I don't know if you want people that are not even American citizens deciding on laws and issues that pertain to American citizens.
I'm not cool with that. Now we get back to Deborah. So Deborah, I'm sorry about the technical crap.
No problem.
I got to work on that. I got to ask the people here how you get multiple calls on. But that was Stephen from Colorado.
Hey, Stephen from Colorado. He's gone now.
Yeah, I think he's from Colorado. I forgot. But he calls in during the program. He calls himself Lord Stephen.
Really?
I'm sorry, Oregon. It's either Oregon or Colorado. I think he wants to say Oregon. I think it's Oregon where he's calling from. Lord Stephen from Oregon. So he goes. Okay.
And I used to call myself, I said I wanted to be Queen of the United States, so that all fits.
See, you get it. See, he claims he was born with this name. And so I'm like, okay, if you could be Lord Stephen, then I could be Prime Minister Base.
But you know what? I knew a guy in college. His name was Sir, and I can't remember what his middle name was, but his real name was Sir.
I don't get it.
Can you imagine that? Somebody calling him Sir?
I got a coworker here that works at UBM Praise, and his name is Sir Walter Jones. Sir Walter Jones. I mean, come on
Really?
now. Really? No, that's what he calls himself. He claims that people named him Sir over the years. I don't personally believe it. I think he was in his kitchen one day, got out a case knife, a butter knife, and dubbed himself Sir Walter. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I mean, people, they change their names all the time.
Right.
I had this last, well, maybe it's even time for two, but this other headline that was more closely related to what's going on in Chicago.
Okay.
In Sacramento, California, a federal judge has ordered California's Corrections Department to provide a transsexual inmate with sex change surgery. Now, he's not just an inmate. The guy's on death row. How many more ways can we figure out to waste money?
A lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I feel differently, really, about these two stories. This one here, that just makes no sense to me.
Well, it makes
no sense.
Well,
it says it violates, they say but his constitutional rights if he doesn't have this sex change operation, and they want the taxpayers to pick it up.
Well, let me say this up front. I'm like this. See, this goes. Look at the timeline, the whole thing with Bruce going into Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
You heard some stories here and there. Like I told somebody before, this Caitlyn Jenner thing is going to open up a whole new floodwork of information. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for the fact of rights when it comes to people, no matter who they are, what their gender is. But if you're talking about taking that and me flipping the bill for somebody's situation, I'm not cool with that.
Well, I'm not either. And even with the rights, my point and my position has been always treat people as you would want them to be treated. Now,
Absolutely.
I'm not going to delve over into now let me make some legislations. I don't agree with all of the legislation, but what I wholeheartedly stand for is to treat people just as I would want to be treated.
Absolutely.
And I don't care who they are, and that's from my heart of hearts. But I sure as heck don't want to have to pay for a sex change operation from somebody who's in prison for life. First of all, what were you doing there?
Right.
If you hadn't done what you did, you could have went out and worked and paid for your own sex change operation.
Thank you, which is nothing wrong with that.
Don't saddle the taxpayers with it, please.
It's grossly unfair. Like if I was a person, for example, Deborah, that needed gastric bypass surgery, and I have, the taxpayers flip for it. Look, ain't nothing that coming to my pocket. I don't give two damns. But when when it's forced upon us as the taxpayers to flip the bill for something we don't flip the bill on, see, that's where it gets murky territory. It's completely wrong. It just, you can't call for anything for what it is. And when these legislatures come forward about the stories you're mentioning, you got to question the resource or the original source where it came from in the first place.
You really, really do. And I think that with Chicago, with the taxes being what they are, with the Board of Education, essentially it's downgraded to junk bonds, to the city of Chicago, which is teetering on another downgrade. People, I think they want more due diligence, more responsibility in terms of how we're spending our money. And as I said earlier, thankfully, we're talking about $100,000. I'm not going to say just $100,000, because that's still a lot of money.
Right.
But when you look at all of the debt that the city is in, you know what I think sometimes, Chris?
Yes.
Sometimes I think politicians say, well, heck, we already owe so much money. It doesn't make any difference. Anyways, we'll just keep spending. What difference does it make? I kind of think sometimes they have that attitude. What difference does it make? We'll add another $20 million here, another $40 million here.
Well,
so that's why I'm looking for somebody that's going to really, and now that's something that Trump does have. I mean, he understands finance, but can he do it in the context of being the president, having to deal with the Senate, having to deal with the Congress? I'm not feeling that. That I don't think.
No, he's good for that area for money. I give him that. And even that could be questioned, but I do give him that when it comes to finance. Now, anything else, the one thing a presidential candidate should be or have the DNA for is to be diplomatic. And I don't think
that's it right there.
I don't think he's that at all. I think he's classic, it's my way or the highway type of approach, and that's not always good, and especially when you're dealing with a high office like that where you're dealing with other countries or the foreign ministers or foreign leaders and everything else. It has to be some sort of diplomacy. Now, for example, we go back in the day. Say what you want about Nixon, but Nixon was a great when it came down to foreign policy. He was fantastic at that.
Absolutely.
Especially with China. He was probably the best president we ever had in that type of mode. Now, the stuff here he did, it could be questionable, the Vietnam War and everything else, and being excommunicated out of the office. But you cannot deny him as a president when it came to foreign policy.
No, you really can. I mean, you just turned the economy around now. However, today, the imbalance is it's like crazy. You just wonder, like, how did we get here?
Right.
Really, how did we get here? That's one thing, and I'm reluctant to even say Trump's name because I certainly don't want to give the impression that I am supporting him, but I do like to acknowledge the good, like his position on illegal immigration. That's good. But it's Trump who also has talked a lot about the imbalanced trade agreements that we have, and that if he were president, he would get in and he would really do something about it. Maybe, hopefully it's not too little too late,
Yeah, I and look, if you must have Trump in the mix, which unless, foretelling something is going to happen we don't know about, of course, I wouldn't probably entertain the idea of him being some sort of advisor.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about him on the second, the other part of the ticket as the vice president?
See, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't want him. I don't want him near. I don't want him near it. I don't want him near the Veep, or I don't want him near the presidency at all. I don't want him near it at all. I'm sorry. He's too much of a loose cannon.
That's the whole thing, and it's amazing how many people, they are loving this. I still say you're loving that one thing, the immigration, the illegal immigration.
Right.
But would you really be comfortable with him just spouting off, shooting off the mouth on all kinds of things and in all kinds of situations? And I don't think that would be beyond him to do that.
No, I agree. And, that's...
I don't know at all.
And that's his DNA, as you know. I mean, he's, bravado personified. He commands the room. He wants your attention. Going back, I know what, real quick, I have a few minutes left, but I like the way Megyn Kelly of Fox, the news anchor, handled him. Because I thought it was a fair question about the women, about how he degrades women and everything else. And regardless of what side of the aisle you come from, I thought it was a very valid question. He came off like callous. He threw Rosie. Well, why you throw Rosie? You haven't fought with Rosie for 5 years? You gonna throw Rosie back in the mix?
That fight was over with.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. You gotta go back to Rosie of all people. Come on, man.
But you know what? To me, that just shows he's looking for any opportunity to present himself as a take no prisoners guy.
Yeah.
I just tell it like it is. Who gets hurt in the process?
Right.
That's why he dug Rosie back up. He wants people to see him that way. He just calls it.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this real quickly, Chris, because I know time is short. His comments, Donald Trump's comments about Megyn Kelly, when he said he could see the blood coming from her eyes, or coming from somewhere.
Right.
What do you think he meant?
I think he meant that she was on her period. That's what he meant.
You just point blank with it.
Hey, that's exactly what he meant, and it was very offensive.
Now he's like, and anybody that would think that, what kind of sick person would think I meant that? That's what he said.
Well, he's trying to do a Jedi mind trick on us. Even though I said red and blood and everything, does not mean she was menstruating. So let's nip it in the bud right now. That's exactly what he meant. And,
to me, if he really was all that when it comes to, hey, I take no prisoners, I just tell it like it is, if he really was all of that, then he would have just stood by what he was implying. Yeah, I meant that. That's exactly what I was trying to say, because he could have said something like, there's no other explanation why she, went after me, if that's